Chapter 20. The Final Miscalculation. The seeds of doubt within the Galactic Alliance might have taken root, but they were not yet strong enough to halt the juggernaut of military pride and desperate fear. The voices of reason, advocating for peace or surrender, were drowned out by the roar of the hardliners who clung to one final, desperate strategy. They believed they had finally deciphered the Guardian's pattern, a powerful but reactive force, compelled to defend human assets under threat. "They appear when a human world is on the verge of falling," bellowed Supreme Commander Thrak, his voice amplified across the Joint Command holographic conference. "They commit enough force to repel our attack, but never overwhelm us entirely. They are cautious, preserving their numbers. This is their limitation." Grand Admiral Zarath, his eyes gleaming with a manic conviction, slammed his fist on his console. "We will overwhelm them. We will gather every single remaining vessel into one colossal armada. We will strike at a single human colony with such an inconceivable force that even these Guardians will be unable to prevent its fall. They will be forced to commit their entire fleet or watch humanity be extinguished." The plan was a desperate, all-or-nothing gamble. Shipyards, already depleted, worked themselves to destruction. Veteran crews, exhausted and terrified, were forced back to their posts. Every last reserve, every last cruiser, frigate, and fighter was marshaled. The unified fleet, a monstrous, sprawling entity, unlike any ever assembled, began its slow, ponderous journey through hyperspace. Its destination, Atheria Prime. Atheria Prime, a world of gentle plains and bustling research hubs, was chosen for its strategic vulnerability and its perceived importance to humanity. The alien commanders believed its loss would surely draw out the full strength of the Guardians. They calculated its orbital defenses, its population centers, its crucial infrastructure. They plotted their attack vectors, envisioning a swift, brutal conquest, and then the inevitable confrontation with their phantom enemy. They were convinced that with their overwhelming numbers, they could finally pin down, encircle, and destroy the mysterious force. This was their last, colossal miscalculation. Deep beneath Earth, the inner quintet watched the convergence of the alien fleets on their strategic displays. The vast armada, composed of the tattered remnants of three empires, was a glowing, monstrous blob on the galactic map, moving with predictable slowness. "Atheria Prime," Director Jian Li stated, her voice devoid of emotion. "Their chosen crucible, their final attempt to overwhelm us with brute force." General Armitage nodded, a grim satisfaction in his eyes. "And our final opportunity to shatter their will. They believe they understand our patterns, our limits. They will find themselves tragically mistaken." Admiral Elias Vance brought up a projection of the Angel Fleet's main battle groups, already in position, cloaked and waiting in the void beyond Atheria Prime. Hundreds of vessels, each one a pinnacle of human ingenuity, silently orbited their prey. "Every element is in place. Our AI-driven crews are running optimal engagement simulations. The Greek god weapons are fully charged. Our surprise will be absolute." Elder Maeve O'Connell's gaze was piercing. "They will experience true terror and then utter defeat. This battle will break their spirit and redefine their understanding of humanity's place in the galaxy." Dr. Aris Thorne adjusted his spectacles, a flicker of anticipation in his eyes. "The scale of their commitment will allow us to showcase the full, overwhelming power of even one of our battle groups. Their final blow will be our opening act." The inner quintet held their breath, poised on the precipice of a galactic shift. The galaxy's dominant powers, blinded by their desperation and arrogance, were plunging headlong into a trap far grander than they could ever conceive. The stage was set for the ultimate confrontation, a clash that would reveal humanity's true might and usher in a new era. The grand deception was about to end, not with a whisper, but with a roar. Chapter 21. The Grand Deception. Fails. The combined fleets of the Xylos Confederacy, the Draconian hegemony, and the Velar Collective, a monstrous armada stretching across light minutes, descended upon Atheria Prime, a relatively young human colony known for its vibrant art and burgeoning scientific community. They came in force, confident in their numbers, their sensors sweeping for the telltale energy signatures of the Ghost Fleet. They intended to crush Atheria Prime, to lure out their phantom enemy, and then to annihilate them. The Resilience, still the public face of humanity's weakness, was positioned in a defensive orbit above Atheria Prime. Its aging weapons systems were powered up, its crew at battle stations, but its posture was one of grim defiance, not expectation of victory. The galaxy watched, holding its breath, anticipating the clash. The alien fleets unleashed their fury. Draconian dreadnoughts fired volleys of plasma torpedoes. Xylos siege vessels deployed swarms of energy-draining drones. Velar combat freighters launched waves of kinetic projectiles. The attack was brutal, overwhelming, designed to shatter the colony's defenses and break its spirit. And then, from the void beyond the attacking fleets, they came. Not in a trickle, not in a defensive posture, but in a breathtaking display of orchestrated power. A single, impossible tear in space opened, and from it poured the Angel Fleet. Not a handful of ships, but an entire battle group, over 400 vessels, each a masterpiece of alien design and terrifying efficiency. The Archangel Michael, leading the charge, unleashed a wave of energy that crippled the Draconians' command and control systems, turning their meticulously planned assault into chaos. Gabriel and Raphael, flanking the Michael, engaged the Xylos drones, their energy beams slicing through the swarms with surgical precision. The Uriel and Azrael squadrons, each containing dozens of smaller, faster vessels, engaged the Velar freighters, their movements defying known physics, their weapons tearing through armor with ease. This wasn't a defense. This was a demonstration. The Angel Fleet didn't just repel the attack, they annihilated it. The Draconian dreadnoughts, their formations shattered, were systematically torn apart by Zeus beams. The Xylos drones, their energy-draining systems useless against the Angel Fleet's exotic shields, were vaporized. The Velar freighters, outmaneuvered and outgunned, were reduced to expanding clouds of debris. The engagement lasted less than an hour. The combined alien fleet, the pride of three major galactic powers, was utterly decimated. The Angel Fleet, their weapons silent, their movements precise, simply vanished back into the impossible tear in space, leaving behind a field of wreckage and a galaxy reeling in disbelief. On Atheria Prime, the sudden overwhelming force of the Angel Fleet was met with stunned awe. The colonists, moments away from certain destruction, watched as their would-be conquerors were systematically dismantled. Among them was Kalen Rourke, who had been working as a construction foreman on the colony's outer rim. As the alien ships fell from the sky, as the energy weapons tore through armor, Kalen felt a surge of energy within him, a powerful resonance that seemed to amplify the Angel Fleet's power. He instinctively directed a group of workers away from a collapsing structure. His luck, now a conscious awareness, a precognitive sense that guided his actions with terrifying accuracy. He was no longer just sensing the unseen forces, he was beginning to wield them. The galactic broadcast, once again hijacking all channels, showed the utter devastation of the alien fleet. There was no gloating, no boasting, just the cold, hard reality of their defeat. The message that followed was brief, chilling, and final. Humanity is under our protection. You have been warned. The galaxy was left in stunned silence. The combined might of three major powers had been brushed aside with contemptuous ease. The Ghost Fleet was not a limited force, it was a juggernaut, and its power was utterly, terrifyingly, beyond anything they could comprehend. The seeds of doubt planted with Citadel Prime and Viridia Prime had now blossomed into a full-blown crisis of confidence. If this was how the Guardians defended humanity, What hope did they have against them? The war, it seemed, was over before it had truly begun. Chapter 22. The Desperate Strike and the Truth Revealed. The destruction of the combined alien fleet above Atheria Prime sent a chilling tremor through the galactic powers. The Draconian hegemony, the Xylos Confederacy, and the Valar Collective, their arrogance shattered, faced a terrifying reality. The guardians of humanity were an unstoppable force. Panic morphed into desperation. Defeat was certain, but a suicidal final strategy began to form in their shattered command centers. If they couldn't defeat the Ghost Fleet, they could at least destroy the reason for its existence. They would strike at the heart. "Earth," whispered Grand Admiral Zarath of the Xylos, his voice hoarse with a terrifying resolve. "It's the cradle, the origin point. If we glass it, if we prove that even their most sacred world is vulnerable, then these guardians will have failed. It is our only hope." The remnants of their once magnificent fleets, cobbled together from scattered reserves and desperate calls for last-ditch reinforcements, turned their battered prows towards the Sol system. This was not a tactical assault. It was a furious, dying gasp. 1,000,000 ships on a one-way trip, an unholy alliance of species united in their shared terror and fury. As the armada, now a desperate, enraged mob, entered the Sol system, they were met by the familiar, aging ships of humanity's known fleet. The Resilience, a beacon of defiance, led the charge, its ancient guns firing with grim determination. The galactic aggressors scoffed. These were the same pathetic vessels they'd always known, a mere distraction. But then, an invisible boundary rippled around Earth. The planet, bathed in the gentle glow of its twin moons, suddenly shimmered, not with a shield, but with something far grander, far more profound. From every orbital communication satellite, from countless hidden platforms previously dismissed as debris, a blindingly brilliant network of energy materialized. It was the heavens' walls, now activated in full, global glory. A colossal, pearlescent dome of pure energy, shimmering with an impossible luminescence, enveloped the entirety of Earth's atmosphere, deflecting the incoming alien fire as if it were dust. Kinetic projectiles disintegrated, energy beams diffused into harmless light. The suicidal assault slammed against an unbreakable barrier. Before the Galactic Armada could even process this new, impossible defense, every communication frequency across the galaxy was seized. This time, the image wasn't of a ghost ship or a faceless text. This time, it was a face. The resolute, unwavering visage of Director Jian Li of Earth's Inner Quintet. To the Xylos Confederacy, the Draconian hegemony, the Valar Collective, and all who have sought to oppress humanity, her voice resonated, calm but absolute. You believed us weak. You believed us primitive. You believed our protectors were a mysterious, alien force. You were wrong. As she spoke, holographic projections of the Angel Fleet flickered into existence around her, followed by the sleek, dark forms of the Devil's Fleet, and then the formidable crimson-eyed units of the Demon Army. The vessels you have called Ghost Fleet, the defenses you called Heaven's Walls, the soldiers you called Demon Army, and the powers that shattered your fleets and disabled your worlds, they are ours. They are human. They were forged in the silent shipyards of Earth and across uncounted hidden sectors for centuries, anticipating this very day. We are the architects of our own destiny. We are the guardians of our own kind. A collective gasp ripped through the galactic command centers. The impossible truth, delivered with such cold certainty, shattered their understanding of the universe. Humanity, the bug, the primitive infestation, was the unseen giant. Chapter 23. The Heart of the Storm. The revelation struck the Galactic Armada like a physical blow. Their desperation intensified into a rabid, futile frenzy. If the Guardians were human, then this was not merely a war, it was an existential struggle. The shattered remnants of their fleets, fueled by terror and rage, threw themselves at Earth's heaven's walls. The resilience and the rest of the known fleet, now revealed as bait, discreetly began to withdraw, their purpose served. Just as the alien ships renewed their assault on the impenetrable shield, the Angel fleet materialized, not in a single battle group, but in a coordinated, multi-pronged attack that enveloped the entire Sol system. Hundreds of vessels, each more advanced than anything the galaxy had ever conceived, moved with terrifying precision. The battle above Earth was a spectacle of unimaginable power. Zeus beams, no longer held back, sliced through capital ships, turning them into expanding nebulae of vaporized metal. Poseidon torpedoes warped local space, trapping entire squadrons before crushing them into singularities. Hades fields devoured energy shields and weapon systems, leaving enemy ships vulnerable, floating husks. The Angel fleet, guided by the silent, brilliant minds of its AI cores and its few human commanders, performed a ballet of destruction, dismantling the larger, slower galactic armada with contemptuous ease. Their movements were fluid, their coordination absolute, as if they were a single, living entity. Meanwhile, on Earth's surface, a few desperate enemy dropships managed to slip through the chaos, attempting suicidal landings. They were met, not by a conventional army, but by the crimson-eyed demon army. From hidden bunkers and subterranean launch points, the AI-driven soldiers emerged, their forms heavily armored, their movements impossibly swift. They engaged the invaders with brutal efficiency, their energy blades cutting through alien armor, their powerful limbs disarming and neutralizing threats. But true to their protocols, the demon army offered a chilling mercy. A Xylos ground commander, his troops overwhelmed, dropped his weapon and raised his hands. A demon unit paused, its red eyes assessing, then simply gestured for him to move to a collection zone. The same scene repeated across the globe. The demon army was a force of utter devastation, but not of genocide. They subdued, they neutralized, but they did not slaughter those who surrendered. The irony was lost on the terrified invaders, but not on the horrified galactic remnants still watching the broadcast. Kalen Rourke, now fully aware of his abilities, sat in a reinforced bunker, his enhanced senses overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the battle. He felt the vibrations of the heavens' walls, the energy surges of the Angel fleet's weapons, the subtle shifts in the planet's magnetic field as the demon army moved across its surface. He wasn't just sensing, he was almost seeing the flow of power, the intricate dance of humanity's true might. His own latent abilities resonated with the power being unleashed, a clear sign that humanity's inherent strength was not just technological, but deeply rooted in their very being. Chapter 24. The Breaking Point and the Surrender. The battle for Earth was swift, decisive, and horrifying for the galactic powers. Their combined fleets, once numbering in the millions, were reduced to scattered, fleeing fragments. They had thrown everything they had at the silent, impenetrable shield of Earth and the overwhelming, surgical precision of the Angel fleet, and had been utterly broken. Their grand strategy of overwhelming numbers had failed spectacularly against a foe that operated on a completely different plane of existence. Admiral Xylos, one of the few surviving high-ranking Xylos commanders, watched from his damaged flagship as the last of his dreadnoughts exploded into glittering dust, vaporized by a single, impossible beam from the Archangel Michael. His bridge crew stared in stunned silence, their faces reflecting utter defeat. They had run out of ships, out of weapons, out of hope. Then, a single, unwavering message cut through the chaos, transmitted on all frequencies by the Angel fleet. It was Director Jian Li's voice again, calm, firm, leaving no room for doubt. To the remaining forces of the Xylos Confederacy, the Draconian Hegemony, and the Velar Collective, Your aggression has ceased. Your fleets are broken. Further resistance is futile. Surrender immediately, and your lives will be spared. Refusal will be met with immediate and total eradication. The silence on the bridge of Xylos' ship was deafening. He looked at the few officers who remained, their faces a mixture of despair and reluctant acceptance. They had been taught that humans were weak, insignificant. They had been taught that surrender was for cowards. But they had never faced a force like this. A force that could wipe out entire fleets without effort, yet offered mercy. "Open a surrender channel," Xylos rasped, the words tasting like ash in his mouth. "All remaining ships, lay down your weapons. Surrender." Across the Sol system and then across the galaxy, the message of surrender spread like wildfire. The Vela Collective, always pragmatic, were the first to formally lay down their arms, their merchant ships powering down their weapon systems. The Draconian hegemony, their pride wounded, but their survival instinct strong, followed. Even the Xylos, after a few final desperate and futile attempts at resistance, finally conceded. The Angel fleet, still maintaining perfect formation, accepted the surrenders with silent efficiency. Disarmed alien ships were then guided by the Demon Army, which materialized in space, towards designated orbital docking facilities. Earth, the former Bug, had not just won the war, it had brought an entire galactic order to its knees. Chapter 25. The New Dawn. The echoes of total war settled into an uneasy, profound silence. Earth had won, decisively and shockingly. The galactic powers, humbled and shattered, had no choice but to acknowledge the new reality. Humanity, for centuries underestimated and oppressed, was now the undisputed dominant force in the galaxy. The days that followed were a whirlwind of diplomatic chaos and unprecedented restructuring. Earth, through the quiet authority of the Inner Quintet and the overwhelming presence of the Angel fleet, asserted its new role. Not as a conqueror seeking vengeance, but as a guardian of galactic peace, a new, formidable power committed to preventing the injustices that had plagued lesser species for millennia. The vast shipyards, hidden for centuries, now began to deploy smaller, faster Angel and Devil vessels not for war, but for exploration, diplomatic missions, and humanitarian aid. The heavens' walls, once a terrifying secret, became a symbol of inviolable protection, projected now not just around Earth, but around any human colony that wished for its defense. A new galactic assembly was formed, its central hub located, fittingly, on Earth. Representatives from every species, including the now demilitarized Xylos, Draconians, and Valar, came to the planet they once scorned. Under human guidance, the assembly began the long, arduous process of rebuilding, establishing new trade routes, and ensuring equitable resource distribution. The core principle was clear: no species would oppress another. All sentient life had the right to self-determination, protected by Earth's overwhelming benevolent might. Kalen Rourke, his luck now fully blossomed into a potent precognitive ability, found himself summoned to Earth. He joined other gifted humans, Lena Petrova, whose healing touch had saved countless lives on Atheria Prime, Finn, whose force field had bought precious time, Marco Petrova, whose superhuman strength now aided in rebuilding. Their abilities, once hidden in fear, were now celebrated, integrated into humanity's future. They were the tangible proof of humanity's intrinsic, unique strength, a source of guidance and insight in this new galactic era. The Xylos, humbled, now looked at humans with a mixture of awe and fear. The Draconians grudgingly respected their power. The Vela, ever adaptable, were already seeking new trade agreements with the new galactic power. The universe, once a cold and hostile place for humanity, had been irrevocably altered. Earth, the cradle of humanity, was now the heart of a new galactic order. The Angel Fleet, ever watchful, patrolled the newly defined boundaries of peace. The demon army stood ready for any enforcement required. The heavens' walls shimmered, a silent promise of protection. Humanity had risen from being a bug to the unexpected, overwhelming force that would guide the galaxy into an uncertain yet hopeful new dawn. The grand deception had ended, and in its place, a new era had begun. End of part 1.